realtor business owner here in El Paso, Texas, and I just want to give him a couple moments, to kind of introduce himself and just kind of let you guys know what he's about. Go ahead.
So I am Nathan Armendariz. I am 26 years old, born and raised here in El Paso, and continue my life here.
Awesome, awesome, brother. So I know you pretty much hold a couple of titles, right? We're doing you
Correct.
you are a business owner, you are a realtor. We're gonna get into all of it. I want to see kind of just the steps because time management, I believe, is a huge issue, right? If you're doing both businesses. So first, I'll start with what was your holy shit moment, right? When you realized, damn, I made it. I was able to do a business. I'm a realtor. When was that moment?
Um, I think I've already hit that moment, but at the same time too, I don't like to dwell on it. You know what I mean? I think once you hit that moment of like, okay, I've made it, then you kind of tend to settle. So I feel like once you feel like you still haven't met your mark, then you're going to keep striving and striving and striving for more and bigger, better, greater. So that's why I
Gotcha.
try not to dwell on that.
So you feel that you still like that real moment hasn't really you haven't gotten the moment that you want yet, or just little steps?
Um, I would say little steps. I would say
Okay,
little steps.
gotcha. So look, I know I'm a business owner myself, and I hold the job as well. So I know, like I said, time management is crazy. Um, I know with it comes a lot of self doubt. I know with it comes a lot of negativity from the outside sources, right?
Mhm.
How do you handle self doubt and people maybe trying to attack you, like, dude, why are you doing this? What's going on?
You know what? It's something that as a person we all have to work on. I think like you all have to know to just at the end of the day block it out and find your grounding. So what I try to do at night is either have a cup of coffee, watch TV. That's my really sense of to ground and really understand that I am who I am. Not everybody's gonna like me. Everyone's gonna either talk bad or whatever. That at the end of the day, you're not always gonna be able to make people happy.
Very true. Is there a situation where you feel like somebody's negativity, somebody's self doubt impacted you?
I'm very, and you're right. It happens quite a bit with me because I'm very sensitive in the sense of I'm a very people pleaser and I try to keep everybody happy. That when it happens to me, and it happens quite a bit, that I kind of feel like, okay, maybe I messed up. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, 'cause especially in business, I think if you try to please, you're not gonna be able to please everybody. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Because everybody wants certain things, so it's harder to be a people pleaser in business. So How do you manage that? Like, how do you put on the mask of like, I gotta be a dick now, or I gotta be a a certain way, so it doesn't, I don't let myself get in the way of my success.
Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what it is. You just as you have to learn to be able to put on different caps, and you have to learn that well, okay, this is a time I'm going to have to really set my foot down, and this is how things are because I said so. Or this is a time where you're going to have to okay compromise. I mean, depending on that's part of the business is you have to learn what to and how to manage the situation.
Gotcha. So why leather, bro? I mean, out of all businesses to start, you got into leather. Can you give us a little bit of detail on that and how it is that it managed to get started?
So I actually had started the business. I'm going to say about 4 years ago.
Okay.
At the time, I was currently married and living my life. Decided had nothing else to do with my time, so I started. I had worked at a boot shop, so I had some experience, and decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and venture off on my own. Me and my boss at the time didn't see eye to eye on things, so I left and continued on with my business. Went well, and life goes on, and I ended up getting a divorce. Lost everything in my divorce to the
Oh,
point
wow.
where yeah, I didn't have anything. So I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I ended up coming back to El Paso because I had left to McAllen, Texas.
Mm,
Came back to El Paso and got a job again. And at that time, it was funny enough because my mom was the one that helped me get my job. And me and her were working under the same company. So she was technically my superior.
hmm.
And we ended up both losing our jobs again at the same time within a year span. Got divorced, lost my job 2 weeks after that, got a job again, lost my job again. And so we're looking at each other like, what are we going to do? We're both have our job. We both need to pay rent. What's going to happen? So my mom got a job and ended up, she was nice enough to be like, hey, well, I'm going to pay your rent for 1 month and you're on your own. And I said, okay. And I got it. So I ended up going with a friend that she's actually a really well-known broker here in El Paso to one of her friends' grand opening because she was opening up a daycare. I went and that's when I met Vianney Martinez. She's my business partner. And I met her. When I met her, I was in the desperation of I needed something to pay my bills because I was about to lose my car, didn't have enough money for rent. I was like, what am I going to do? So I went to her and I was like, hey, would you mind giving me a job doing your marketing? At least give me something. I mean,
Mhm.
and she's like, yeah, I'll hire you for marketing. So I ended up doing her marketing she owns an insurance company, which is Premier Insurance, and the daycare. Well, it went really well. And one day that I was trying to work on some marketing stuff, I was like, oh, you know what? I've done some of this like stickers and stuff like that. What if we brand things and stuff? And I'm going through photos and she's like, what's all that? And I was like, well, I told you I used to own a leather company. So this is part of the stuff I used to do. And she's like, let me see it again. And then she was scrolling through all the photos and she's like, damn, dude, you really do have some talent. And I was like, well, thanks. And she's like, well, why don't you reopen it? And I was like, no, like I completely lost everything in my divorce. It's too costly. I had years of collecting stuff that I was like, I don't think it's worth it for me to drop so much money all at once. And I don't have that money. And she's like, well, how much would you need? And I was like, why? And then she's like, well, what if we do it together? And I was like, no, 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 hold up, hold up. This was on a Friday afternoon and it was just me and her in the office. And I was like, no, 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 hold up, hold up. Let's go ahead and take a breather. We'll talk about it on Monday. I'll give you all weekend to think about it. And she's like, okay, sounds good. So weekend comes and goes. Monday comes along and it's me and her again in the office because we always stay late. And she's like, and I go up to her and I was like, oh, so what did you decide? And she's like, well, you still haven't given me an amount to write a check. And I was like,
Damn.
you're that serious? And then she's like, yeah. So I was like, all right, cool. So, and she's like, I even have a location for you. And I was like, what do you mean? And then she's like, because the location I'm located at used to be a storage unit for her. So I was like, she's like, you can go ahead and take over that location, do it there. And I was like, oh, shoot, you're really serious. And she's like, and I need an amount. And I was like, well, I don't know, this much. And then she's like, okay, well, here's a credit card. Go start shopping.
Wow. Wow.
And
That is awesome to have a friend like that, bro. And I mean that because not just because she gave you money, right? Well, that helps. But
no,
I mean,
yeah.
I believe in the belief of it. Like she completely, I mean, she's obviously believes in you and in the talent of it. So I kind of, do you have an example like on you or with you that you can show us maybe like for something that you made? Or I know I'm cutting you off guard, but maybe you can show
Uh,
the,
yeah, let me go get some stuff.
hell yeah, hell yeah. Okay, cool. Hell yeah. Hey, I'm sorry, but I should have told you to have, but
Yeah, I would have
it
been
just came to me
prepared.
right now. Yeah. No, you're good. You're good though.
All right, so we specialize in the tooling of leather, which is the stamping.
Oh
So that
shit.
stuff we did. So it was actually upside down. So this was my Halloween costume. I didn't want to dress up, so I was like, I'm going to be a cowboy. That's what I do, and that's what I'm going to dress as.
Hell yeah.
So I did a bloody massacre. So this was a hat band, and I did a matching belt. So that was my
Oh
costume
shit.
for Halloween.
That's
And
dope.
and so we've even done some really cool, interesting intricacy work of like this is a bag that belonged to my client. She bought it years ago. This was when I first started. So she had a really cool painting
Oh
of Frida
shit.
Kahlo that she's like, hey, can you stamp it out? And so I did, and I even painted it and everything. So it's done
Oh
with like
wow.
an acrylic paint that's specialized for leather with also dyes. So that's why the black won't come out.
That's pretty badass, man. I've never
We
seen
do.
something like that. Like that kind of bag. Like the hat, okay, but the bag, I had never seen something like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and even send you some promo stuff so we can add it on if you want to. So we also do like the binding and stuff like that. I don't actually have a wine bottle on me, but like we started doing some really cool stuff for the realtors and stuff like that, so you can brand stuff. So this was
Oh
like a leather
shit.
tag for a wine bottle,
That's badass. Oh, that's cool.
and even like simple stuff like this one. We did a realtor tour, so we did a sexy realtor.
That's cool. Hell yeah. So I mean, it's I'm pretty sure it's all like just a product based, right?
What do you
Like
mean by product based?
yeah, kind of like you guys sell individual stuff, or do you guys actually like make boots? Do you guys make belts, stuff like that?
We do make boots and belts. So the boots is a newer aspect that I decided to add in. And the
Hmm.
reason why is because I didn't do it beforehand. I kind of did actually. But VNA, her grandfather used to own a leather company. So
Oh
this was like her
wow.
giving tribute to her grandfather that she asked me, hey, do you want to go into boots? And I said, well, it's something I didn't really think about, but it's an option. So yeah, we ended up we're now we're in the process of finding the right team for to make boots because you do need a team. Every person does a
Yeah.
simple aspect of the boot.
Oh wow. So, what's the biggest challenges that you guys have had? Because I mean, when your sister hit me up, right, and we kind of communicated, and she told me you had a leather business and stuff, I was like, oh wow, like, I mean, obviously they exist, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you got all this leather stuff, but I had never actually talked to somebody home, somebody, so that was my, I was so intrigued, and I wanted to talk to you. So, what's the biggest difficult that you and your business partner have had? Just starting the business and actually, getting your names out there and stuff like that.
I'm going to say the biggest difficulty we've had is just the aspect of branding things and getting things out there. Because right now we're in the market of very fast fashion. So people are
Mhm.
used to having it, ordering it, having it within 3 days. But I'm like, no, like this is custom. Like I take the time to sit here, draw it out, work on it, paint it. So it's something that you're not going to be able to see within 3 days. It'll take me 2, 3 weeks to work on it and get it
Oh.
back to you. But it's also one of those things that it'll last you a lifetime.
Mhm.
So I'm like, what would you rather do? Wait the 3 days or wait 3 weeks for something that it's genuine leather? It's going to last you a lifetime.
Cool. And how are the products made? Like, do you guys make them here? Do you guys outsource uh, Mexico? Is it another state? Where do you guys make them?
So we make everything here locally in El Paso. The only thing that is sourced out is the leather because some of the best leather you can get is Brazilian and Italian. So that has to be
Hmm.
sourced out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I used to have back in the day, right? I don't anymore, but I used to have a badass leather, like Italian, and yeah. So it got stolen, but I could still like smell it and feel it. It's a totally different
Hmm.
feel. I agree with that. So I know since you guys do custom stuff,
Hmm.
what is the craziest custom thing that somebody has asked you to make in leather?
You know what? I'm going to say I had a gentleman that approached me about doing a center console. So he had a Harley Davidson truck in his center console, yeah, which makes sense. It didn't match the rest of the truck because he had already made modifications and all kinds of craziness. He had redone the seats, but he's like, the one thing I haven't been able to do is the center console. So he took it off. We did a cool design of he wanted it to be like look like it was a flame and God knows what else. It was a flame and his initials and all kinds of other stuff on it that he wanted it to match the truck. So that was the
Mhm.
craziest thing because you also, it's one of those things that it had to wrap around the center console and then fit back on.
Mm. Yeah, and then I guess you gotta, because what in that, okay, in that situation, do you go in, measure everything exact, or how does that work? Because I mean, the middle consoles are hard, no? Like there's different like loops and stuff like that you have to do.
So no, when it comes to pieces like that, I always tell people, if you can take it off and bring it to me. Otherwise, it's just going to make the process a lot more difficult. So he actually had to take off the center console, bring it to me, and I kept it.
Oh, okay, awesome. That's pretty cool. Target audience, brother. Who do you guys usually target? Is it just women, men? Because I mean, I'm pretty sure it's women, right? Or where do you guys stand on that?
Actually, it's reverse. It's actually men.
No
Most
way.
of my audiences right now is men, and that's because I guess because of the Western vibe here that we have here in El Paso.
Hmm.
But when it comes to the more custom stuff, it's more women.
Gotcha. Now, when you guys started, I kind of want to go back to that just because I mean, and this is more of a for anybody that's trying to start a business, right? When you start, we both know it's difficult just because you got to get everything in order. You know what I mean? Having a business partner definitely helped. Having the funding definitely helped. But when you get started, brother, what's the biggest difficulty that you encountered then, opposed to where you guys are at now?
Budget, because you want to
Budget.
make sure you can get it doesn't matter who or what. You can have a business partner, or you can go take out say a loan. I mean, for $5,000, 20,000, whatever it is. Your
Hmm.
biggest issue right away is going to be you're going to want all these things of like, oh, I need, in my case, I need a new sewing machine, I need threads, I need leather, I need this and that. So things start adding up, but then you're like, okay, what am I going to? I have all this that I want, but where am I going to cut expenses where I need to so the money can last me longer?
Yeah.
Because it's quick to go through it.
Yes, yes, it is. So I mean, jumping into business with, because she was your friend you guys were friends at one point, right? Or you guys have known each other for a while.
Actually, no, we and this Christmas we just hit 1 year of knowing each other.
Oh wow, that is
Hmm.
cool. So that's cool on her part because yeah, that's awesome. That she, I'm sorry, it's just they say like, oh, don't go into business with your friends and stuff like that. But I do know some people that have and are very successful, and then I do know those people that just didn't make it because of it.
Hmm.
But I'm glad that you guys, I thought you guys knew each other. The fact that you did it, she believed in you, bro. That's even a shout out to her. That's cool. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, no, it was craziness. Within I'm gonna say 6 or 7 months of us knowing each other, we were starting a business.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so look, I'm gonna jump into the first segment. Um, so this is gonna be it's pretty much gonna be called it's gonna be based on what we just talked about, your leather business. So I'm gonna call it leather situations. So I'm gonna give you some situations, people in leather or whatever. You tell me which one would be better, which one would be worse.
Okay.
Cool. First one is gonna be situation. We're gonna do that
God, this
against this,
is
the raw
burning up.
situation.
She wants to snuggle now. What is she trying to kill me? It's like a volcano in here.
Do you mind if I use your bathroom?
Oh, go ahead.
Thanks.
So the misconception is leather pants are fucking hot, right? I've never worn them. I don't know, right? But are they? Or is it like an unbearable heat?
Yes, it is. If you're not properly prepared, and I mean properly prepared, because you have to get into them. First of all, you can't wash them, so you have to make sure you're very. You're not going to go anywhere that you're going to really sweat because you can't wash them. Second of
Oh
all,
man.
the body. When it comes to the body, you have to make sure, depending on how tight they are, either you have to coat them in baby powder or sometimes even a lubricant just to go in and out of them. So
Yeah.
yes, it can be very hot.
Oh my god. Yeah. You see, so another reason for me not to try it. I'll try boots. I'll try belts. Anything. Hell yeah. But okay. So that one or this one. What situation would you rather be in? There we go. Yeah, my computer's being weird, so I apologize for that.
Oh, motherfucker, I almost just shot you.
All right, out of those two, which situation would you rather be in?
The hot seat.
The hot seat. All right,
A
cool.
hot seat
Yeah.
any day. Because a hot seat, you just have to deal with it for a couple of minutes. But leather pants, depending on where you're going, it's a couple hours.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is like all the like in the 60s, the 70s, all the rock stars would wear them, and they'd be on stage fucking sweating a madre. So it's I mean, props to them, I guess. I don't know what the situation is, but yeah, I think I would go with the hot seat as well.
Yeah.
All right, between a leather zap, a leather belt, or leather gloves, you're about to get jumped. Which one would you rather get beat with? Leather strap, leather belt, or leather gloves?
Leather gloves. It's going to be less painful.
Yeah, I didn't even know what a strap was until I looked it up, and I got like a TikTok about it, and I was like, what the fuck? Like this, yeah, and this looks like it's gonna hurt.
Oh, yeah.
All right, brother. So I know there's the pleather. You're right. There's leather. There's pleather. What's one of the ways you can find out which one is real, which one is fake?
So the best indicator of an authentic leather is obviously the smell. That'll give itself off real quick. Doesn't matter. Even people walk into my shop and they're like, I can smell it.
Yeah.
That first indicator. Second indicator is usually like a scratch test. If you scratch it and leather can scratch, but it's going to be a very superficial scratch. But when it comes to pleather, as soon as you scratch it, it looks like it starts to peel. So it's paint. So those are the two best
Oh.
indicators to know what it is. And texture. Texture, if it's more stretchy, kind of like, how do I say, like a gummy kind of thing,
Hmm.
then it's fake.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, I know you are also a realtor. Okay.
Correct.
So, for having both, brother, let me see, give me one sec. I have some questions here for you. Okay. How do you balance both businesses? Because I'm pretty sure you got to be on top of your leather company and on being a realtor is I know it can be demanding, right? Sales.
Hmm.
So, how do you balance both?
Lucky enough that real estate is actually more of an afternoon job. Not that it isn't a full time job, but usually most people want to see houses or do do whatever to have a conversation. It's always after work, so that gives me the whole day to work on Martinberry, which is the leather business.
Hmm.
So that gives me that
Awesome.
really nice balance, yeah, and good help.
Yeah. Craziest story that you can give us since you become a realtor. I mean, something you experienced with a customer or just learning the process. What's the craziest story you can give us?
I think a lot of people can relate to this. Is that I've had the one or two customers. I'm going to say it's one. I have it, and I can even think of him at the top of my head. He always wanted to view houses right like at 9, 10 o'clock at night, and you're like, no, dude, like I just
What?
if I don't feel safe about it, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. I'll see you at latest 5 o'clock.
Yeah, that's pretty weird because, well, I mean, I get it, right? Some people work and they're not
Hmm.
out till maybe like 5 or 6, but 9, 10, that's, I think, already pushing
Yeah.
it. I mean, do you know or yourself have you experienced something like something dangerous like that? Because I can imagine. I mean, there's a lot of. I did real estate for a while, like real estate investing, brother. So I went on a like I was trying to befriend all the realtors, like
Uh-huh.
everybody. So I have a bunch of realtors on my Facebook on social media, and there's a lot of beautiful women there. So
Hmm.
I can only guess, if there's a crazy guy that's like that would be the way to try and abduct somebody or something. Do you know anybody who's experienced something like that or yourself?
Personally, no, but I do know there was a case. I'm gonna say about 6 or 7 months ago that one person claimed it in that they made everybody. That's the reason that there's codes and stuff like that. They even converted the MLS system to be like an alarm system. So if you felt unsafe, it would send out a text. But personally, none of my friends had happened to them. But I know there was a case here in El Paso.
Oh, that's awful.
Hmm.
Misconceptions people have about being a realtor.
Big money.
Really? Well, I mean, you can, right? There
You
is
can.
those
No,
like,
you can.
yeah,
But it's not like selling Sunset or what is it? The other one, NYC show. It's
yeah.
not like we're not making $250,000 on one transaction. It's just not possible here in El Paso.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is like where you're at, right? Because
Hmm.
like I interviewed the last realtor I interviewed, he's been pretty much all over the place, and right now in Vegas, I think he said he was killing it. But the reason he left El Paso was because yeah, of that, like I guess now there is $1 million homes here, but I can see where it's just really limited, I guess, right? There's only a few.
Correct. I think here it's more mass than it's quantity over. I don't want to say quality because you do want to give good quality, but it's just you have to do mass production to make that crazy amount of money.
The marketing. So the marketing that you do as a realtor, how is it different from what you do in the business?
So in the business, people want to see more of what the product is, how it's made, what do you use, what's all that stuff. What is the reasoning you do it that way, how you do it that way. So, and when it comes to real estate, people want to get to know you as the person because people are going to be working hand in hand with you. And most of the time, you get to know their families and the kids and the tios, the tias, the suegras, the cuñadas, because they go along to view the property sometimes with you.
Gotcha. And like, is it frustrating? Well, yeah, I guess what's the most frustrating part about it?
Um, I would have to say, I think the process sometimes. It's not really the people, the process, because sometimes it takes a lot of people to get the process done. That if one person's lacking it, then it drags out the process. So
Mm.
the the process.
Yeah, I can imagine because like even house hunting, right? Like when you go out and let's say you're married, and like me personally, I'm just like a backyard person, right? I only care about
Hmm.
the backyard. I gotta have a big backyard. But I know my wife would be like, "Oh, this I like it, but there's this pillar here." Like the most random thing. Have you ever dealt with customers like that, where it's like just one little thing is stopping them from making the deal happen?
Oh, absolutely, and it's very common for if you don't explain to clients, you got to remember this. As soon as you walk into the house, yes, you have to make sure you love it, but it's not going to be exactly what you want it to be. You can always modify it to for it to be what you want it to be. So it's just a stepping stone. If you don't make that clear, I've had one client where I showed her over 15 houses. I had
Oh my
another
God.
friend. She had been working with a client for almost 2 years. They've seen over 30 houses. The client's requirement was that she was married to a doctor. So she lived in like a really big, nice $1 million home. She was downsizing, but she wanted all her furniture to fit in the smaller home.
Oh wow.
That's not going to
Well, that can
happen.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do sellers often overlook when listing a property?
The condition of the property. Because it's their property, they've fallen in love with it, so they feel the value is more. But it's like once you show them, look, it's because it has this defect, this is what's going on, this and this is outdated, then they kind of like, oh, I didn't know that.
Mm,
So the property value.
gotcha. Now I want to go back. I want to go back to when you started. Okay, what was your first deal like? Because I know like what you always like have that self doubt, right? Like, oh, am I gonna be able to do this? What? So once you get that first one, it's like hell yeah. Now you get the ball rolling. How was your first deal?
So my first deals were actually new sale. When it comes to new sale and you're an agent, depending on who you're representing, you just kind of have to do the initial steps of getting the information and then you hand it off and the listing agent will take care of the contract and all that stuff. So it's a very easy process. Once you get into one of my first three deals happened to be with family members.
Mm,
One of them I don't even speak to anymore because they went in a hiatus of like everything was my fault. But at the end of the day, I'm like, it's not my fault when you're the one that lives in the property. I told you and explained to you the process and everything, and it's not my fault at the end of the day that you were upset over decisions that you made.
mhm.
So my first three initial transactions were with family. That was tough.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah, I mean, I'm in sales, right? So I try not to sell to my family. I really don't because there's situations like that. But I know sometimes it's really hard because it's like they'll be like, "Hey, I'm gonna go," and and you're just like, "Oh man," And it's not because. It's just it can get really ugly. I've seen like situations where it's like really ugly. Um, so I know you were doing marketing, right? You started doing your friends' marketing. How important or traditional advertising, right? Do you think it still works? Like billboards, flyers? Because now everything is social media, really. I've seen some realtors get really creative on those videos. So shout out to them. But what do you think it still works traditional media, or what's your approach?
I'm going to say yes, but we also it also depends on the market you live in. So we live here in El Paso, and I think a lot of it still people here in El Paso still have they want to see the in person. They want to see you, want to meet you.
Mhm.
So when it comes to the paper, billboards, it still works. And so of course so does social media, but here it's very old school still. Because you go to LA, Las Vegas, and all the bigger cities, and no one has billboards. It's all social media. It's all more the social interaction rather than an in person interaction. So
Mhm.
here in El Paso, it works. You've got to do both.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, like I said, it seems like everybody and their mother is a realtor here in El Paso, and I mean, it's not a knock. It's a very good profession, and it's cool. It's very time flexible, right? So I hear like you pretty much make your own hours and stuff like that. So that's a
Yes and
good thing.
no, because you're also at the mercy of people. Like I said, most people if they want to see houses in the afternoon, you're gonna have to make yourself available, drop off the kids somewhere, or do whatever you got to do quickly to get to that showing.
That's true. That's actually very true.
So you're on people's time, not on your own time.
Now your time. Yeah, you're
Hmm.
right. You're right. Networking. I know there is like a lot of realtor networking here. Is it effective? How does it help you guys? Because I mean, in reality, you're just meeting each other. It's not like you're meeting other clients. So how does the networking actually work?
Like when I helped her with the insurance aspect, it worked out great because that's what you want is you want the realtors and the loan officers to send you their business. But when it comes to being an agent, honestly, you're just making friends. There's no really aspect to go. You're making friends.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
yeah,
I
you're
guess,
right. There's no client interaction there.
yeah. I think it's just more of like hang out with who you want to become, I guess. Yeah, so that makes
Yeah.
sense, that aspect of it. So are you also in investments and stuff like that, or is it just straight up being a realtor, an agent?
Well, since I am an agent and that's my main source of income, like hers is the insurance, we decided to open up another business, and that's what we're doing now is in flips and investments. So right now we're
Oh,
about to close on our first one within a week or so, which is pretty exciting.
congrats.
Thank
That
you.
I can honestly say that's a tough business. I'm telling you because I tried it,
Hmm.
and maybe it's because I jumped in and not knowing anything about it. You know what I mean? So learning and everything, it took a while. It took longer than we expected. But I mean, it is what it is. Later on, I feel like once I get more capital, then I'll go back to it. But we'll see. We'll see. Any advice you can give somebody who is trying to start? Maybe just being an agent, jumping into wholesale, or even whatever you guys are doing right now.
Well, when it comes to being an agent, my recommendation would be is as if you decide this is the route you want to go in, start telling people. And that's the biggest lesson I should have listened to was when I was in school. I had a friend that we were both in real estate school. She was already telling people, I'm becoming an agent, I'm becoming an agent. We weren't even done graduating, and she had three people waiting for her to list their properties.
Wow, that's
So
awesome.
always, if this is what you want to do, like get the ball rolling, the sooner the better. Because then there's the agents that wait to even take their exam, and by the time they get there, like most people are like, "Oh, okay, cool, cool. We've already moved on. We've already sold our house. We've already done this." So you're already late in the game. When it comes to investments, it's a very tricky game. It's a game of numbers and understanding it. I think even when are an investor with a lot of experience, you're still learning. You're still learning to see what are the best loans you can get. How are the loans changing? Are you going to use loans or use your own capital? And it's basically, like I said, all a numbers game. You want to make sure you get the property at a cheaper rate or a cheaper price than what you're going to sell it at, and make sure you're what you're going to put in it is still going to give you some equity left to make money. And that's where most people get lost, is the upgrades and stuff like that. It's like, no, dude, you're selling it. Put basic floor in, put the basics of what you want to make it look nice, but you don't put the floor that cost you $7 a tile rather than when you can put the $2 a tile.
Mhm. Yeah, I think unless maybe like somebody's already like wanting that, then maybe that aspect, right? But yeah, I
Correct.
totally agree. So flipping, I just want to ask you, and this is more of a personal thing, right? So flipping and wholesaling, right? So where you can just try and buy a house at 30 grand and flip it and sell it for five times that. Have you
Hmm.
had a situation like that where it was a successful deal, or how? What's the difficulty for you to do something like that?
First of all, you got to find, like they said, the right property. So you'll always have properties falling on your lap. It's a lot harder to find those good deals if you get them like for 40,000 and you only have to put 15. You're making 100,000. So right now they're a little hard to come across. Right now, what you're finding a lot of is foreclosures and stuff like that. Which there's still money to be made in, but at the end of the day, your bank's going to want their money back. Is there equity to be made and stuff like that? So
What was
it's
hard
a
for
tougher one.
me was the like foreclosures or even probates, stuff like that, where you
Hmm.
had to go talk to somebody and it was like, well, you're gonna lose your house. Might as well make something out of it. Like, and then like it's a viejita, or like that was super hard for me. I didn't have the heart. Maybe that's why I didn't make it, in that field. But yeah, I was like, nah, I can't do this shit.
And you're right. It's one of those things that you have to feel comfortable with, and talking to people and having that conversation of like, look, if you let me buy your property for so much, and I'll take your loan or whatever you have left, so you can leave at least hands free. People like I've had people slam the door in my face and don't tell me what to do, and you're like, I'm just trying to help, but at the end of the day, I'm also trying to make money.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's super difficult. So I mean, shout out to everybody who's doing it. That is, but it's hard. It's not for
Oh yeah.
the weak for sure.
Oh no no.
All right, brother. So segment number two, I'm gonna call this realtor roast. So I just want you to go off on a roast for pet peeves that you realtors have, whether it's low ball offers, sellers who want millions for their home when it's just broken down. So yeah, just a little roast for realtors that you guys' pet peeve.
Ooh, I think when it's working against each other, like when the other agent is refusing to work with you, that's super annoying. Um, Clients that expect a lot for their property. You're like, oh, okay, dude, like just because you have the biggest house on the lot doesn't mean your house is worth so much more. The hours, people always want to call you at midnight, 12 o'clock at night. You're like, I want to sleep too. Like, I don't understand what the issue is. Can you call me at a reasonable hour? And what else? Agents being rude. Like, we're all, at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. Why can't we work together? Why don't give me disrespect? I'm just trying to work with you or get some more information on the property. But yeah, I think those are the biggest ones.
Yeah, I've heard most of those. That's a good one. All right, brother. So you gave us advice on becoming a realtor. You gave us advice on certain things, right? One last thing of advice that I ask for anybody is starting a business, dude. So it was kind of easy for me after I've talked to so many people that had already done it. So I think that's the best way. But what advice can you give somebody who is just trying to start a business? It seems like you got it figured out. You guys are already on your third business, second business?
I'm going to say fifth.
Oh, so yeah, give us some feedback on what it takes to run a successful one, and maybe just the errors that you made early on that you might, help somebody to prevent doing.
So the biggest fear is, I think, jumping in. I've seen people lose their jobs and they're like, what am I going to do? At the end of the day, sometimes you can even make money. I saw it from my own mother. When she lost her job once when we were growing up, she started a small homemade bakery business, and had to take that leap. You know what I mean? So it's
Mhm.
the fear of starting. Second of all, costs. There's always ways to cut costs. You don't necessarily need the $5,000 machine when you can basically, it might take you longer, but you can do it with, say, the 2 grand machine. It's going to take you longer, but it's at least you're saving money. You're understanding your process more. It's just going to make it easier. Third of all, make sure you're very well advised. Even friends of mine that I was even having a conversation with a friend the other day, she was telling me that she was talking to her CPA. There you go. And the CPA was giving her wrong advice when it came to why she should open up an LLC versus a sole proprietorship or a corporation. She's basically telling her write everything under her name. And I'm like, no, 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 dude. There's certain reasons that you write and open up LLCs or sole proprietors. At the end of the day, you want to make sure you're protected just as much as the company's protected. Somebody comes after you, you want to make sure at the end of the day you can walk hands free,
Yeah.
not make sure that you're getting sued for everything. And I was like, that's the difference. Understanding of what kind of company you should open. And third of all, fourth of all, make sure if try to make friends that are in business. Because those are people you're going to be able to run to of like, hey, you know what, I'm struggling with my taxes or whatever it is. Hey, I can't open up an LLC. What do I do? Those are the people that are going to give you the best information. Because most of those people have not one LLC, they have like 10. So they're like, oh, it's because you got to do it this way or do it this way. If it doesn't work out this way, try it this way. One of the things that's going to work for you.
And I'm just curious, man. Before all this, what did you do before? Before you started getting in the business and realty, where did you work?
So I actually started my first business leaving high school. I
Oh
was
wow.
I was a fashion designer for quite a bit. And leaving high school, and I tell people all the time, the teacher hated me. And people ask me why. Why did the teacher hate you? If I, in a sense, she tried to call me her protege, but in reality, I wasn't her protege. I had already gone into high school knowing much more than she did.
Oh
So she
wow.
knew she could buy so much because she was in high school. They make you take like a what do you call it a career course, right?
Hmm.
So my career course wasn't decided for me. They kind of knew what I did, and so they put me in the fashion design team. And so I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And I ended up having that specific teacher my final year, which you have to do 3 years of the the career. And she knew basically that if she bought so much fabric and this is what she wanted, I could make it happen. And word got around that all the theater arts teachers would be like, hey, can you make us this? Can you make us that? So I started making money like that. I just started talking to them and be like, hey, I'll charge you so much. Oh, no, I'll make you the costume. So I ended up making quite a bit of theater arts costumes. Sometimes it was whole productions by myself.
Wow, that's cool. That's pretty awesome that they even would give you the chance like that, man. And that's why I asked because I'm curious how you started getting that mentality so young. Like, what did somebody kind of like? Oh, make this your business, or what? How'd you get there to where like, hey, I can make a business out of this?
I think it started off at a very young age. Like my grandfather owned a business. So for us, it was kind of like if we wanted something, we had to work for it. So he kind of had that mentality in our heads already. But once I got into high school, it was my grandmother and my mother that actually pushed me into it because I knew how to do alterations at that point. And they're like, well, if you want to pay for your gas, what are you going to do about it? And I was like, ooh, I have a sewing machine. I'll do your alterations. I mean, I'll charge you $15, $10, whatever I could get my hands on. And that's how I paid for my gas sometimes.
Nice, nice. That's actually a good business too, no alterations. Because I mean, well, there's a lot here, but I used to work at Dillard's, and I used to sell suits and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And a lot of people would come in like, "Hey, do you have anybody you recommend?" And we always had certain people, right? But I think that's a good business too. So how come you didn't continue the? I mean, I know you're doing leather, but designing and stuff like that.
Well, in a sense, I still do it. But the reason I didn't continue with, so after I did that, I stopped working with the schools because the schools, there's always a delay in how fast they pay. So sometimes it was about 3 to 6 months before I would even see a check. That's a long time to try to survive. And you're still trying to collect more orders and trying to do advertising and stuff like that. So money wasn't coming in as fast as you needed it to. So that's the reason I left that. And from there, I went into evening and bridal. That's where my true money was made, because you women are willing to drop two, three, $4,000 for a dress for one night. So,
Yeah, that is true.
and that's when COVID hit. So at the end of the day, I was like, okay, well, I think this is it for now. I went from having over 20 orders for like the next month to having nothing. That I was like, okay, well, I guess I better get a job. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Now, but that's good that you were able to come out of that. And for real, bro, like for me is I when I became a business owner and everything, I was like, how come I didn't do this earlier? You know what I mean?
yeah, of course,
Right. It
yeah.
could be the fear, it could be but it's because I think we were brought up, or at least like our generation, right, was brought up of go to school, go to school. You go to school, you'll be successful, you know? And now I think it's like, nah, I disagree with that mindset completely. Just because the freedom that comes with the business part of it's not so much about freedom, right? But it's more of a like you're in control of the situation. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and you're right, because I was brought up with the same family mentality. Funny enough, that my grandfather owned a business, but when I was graduating high school, my grades weren't the best. I was ditching school all the time, total fracaso. That most people thought I wasn't gonna make it in life. So my grandfather told me, he's like, so what is your plan for your life? What is it that you see yourself doing? Because he's like, you have two options: either you start a business or start working at McDonald's. And I was so mad at him. Like, how dare you like tell me something like that? But now it's like, now I thank him, because at the end of the day, I did actually try to go to school. I went to the art institution in, I don't even remember where. I think it was the one in California. Because at the time it was online, so it really didn't matter your location. And I ended up like dropping out, because I was like, I'm already doing all this stuff and I'm paying thousands of dollars for my schooling. I'm just going to go into business. And
Yeah.
even my mother was like, you're wasting my money. Like, I'm literally paying for your school, and you already know all this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
so that, yeah.
No, same. I mean, I went here, right? I went to EPCC and UTEP and all that, but for me, I did 2 years, and then it was like I would go to class and then write a paper on this, and it was like, bro, what are we doing? Like, what's the whole? You know what I mean? Like, why are we writing a
Hmm.
paper on this? Just fucking teach me, bro. And yeah, there was a lot of stuff that I was just like, nah. And I did do like my first job was Burger King, so I knew didn't want to do any of that ever again. So
Oh,
that's
yeah,
just
absolutely.
so it drives you to for better. And luckily, but getting in the right circles, meeting the right people will will do wonders for you.
Hmm.
Nathan, I want to thank you for coming on the show, brother. I pretty much that's all the questions that I have for you. Um, Last message that you want to give the audience, or if just let them know your businesses, where they can reach you, buy your products, stuff like that. Go ahead, brother.
So, last piece of advice that I could give is never stop believing. Everything is possible, and your life can change from one day to another. And for all my businesses, so I own Martinberry, I own Premier Real Estate Investments, I own, well, I'm a realtor as well, and we also have a nonprofit. And well, my business partner, she owns Premier Insurance and Apple Tree Learning Center. You can Google them all and all of our information. I think it's going to be too long to give me all the information. But if you Google either one of the names, you'll find all of our addresses, phone numbers, and all that stuff attached to that.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Anything else you want to mention or say to the audience?
No, that's it. Well,
All
thank you
right.
for having me.
No, no, of course. And I mean, I'm here. Whatever I can help you with, future endeavors, reach out, brother. And yeah, we'll stay in contact.
Alrighty then. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye bye.